Well, thank you all so much for joining us here for this webinar presentation on digital workpaper prep with TicTie Calculate. This is Jason Bookman of CPA Academy, and I am happy to welcome you all into this webinar. So before we get started, I want to check that everything is working for all of you out in the audience. Make sure that everything is good with the audio and visual. So if you don't mind going over to the questions area over in the control panel on the right side of your screen, let me know that you can hear my voice and that you can see the title card of the slides. Feel free to let us know where you're listening in from. We always love knowing where you are in the audience. And of course, we are also checking to make sure that you can hear and that everything is working well with the technology. I'm seeing people check in from all over the country, so thank you all so much for letting me know that everything is working. And of course, if anyone's having trouble seeing or hearing throughout the webinar, go ahead and let me know in the questions panel. I'll do everything I can to get around to your troubleshooting requests as quickly as possible. Now we can go ahead and move into some quick housekeeping regarding the polls and credit for today's webinar. This is a 1 CPE webinar, and in order to earn that 1 CPE, you need to stay logged in for at least 50 minutes, 50 minutes, and answer at least 3 of the 4 polling questions that we will have throughout the webinar. When the poll comes up, hit the button corresponding with your answer, and then hit the submit button in order to confirm your response. And CPE will be issued by our team at CPA Academy by the end of the day today, and that will be available in your CPA Academy accounts within 24 hours, along with access to all of the associated webinar materials. And now we've gotten through all of the technical webinar housekeeping out of the way, so I'm going to step out of the way and turn things over to Steve Lyon from SafeSend to get us going. So Steve, thank you for being here. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Jason. First, I want to thank everybody for joining me today, joining us. Welcome to the complimentary CPE webcast called Using Adobe Acrobat to Simplify and Prepare Digital Workpapers, presented by CPA Academy. Thank you for having me, and again, thank you all for joining me today. Throughout this presentation, we'll be discussing using PDF files versus some of the alternatives. What this subject matter is going to cover is how to effectively use Adobe Acrobat and plugins available in the marketplace and maybe some other tools to effectively do digital work paper preparation. So with the class, there's going to be about a 20 to 30 minute component that is actually a hands-on demonstration where I will actually go through and partially prepare work papers with PDF files, showing you some of the tools that plugins have out there. But to lead into that and set the stage, I'll also spend about 30 minutes on education. On the front end, going through some workflow diagrams that are really important to kind of understand conceptually how things are being done out there in the marketplace. And then lastly, we'll finish up with some Q&A. Real quick about TicTie Calculate and SafeSend Return. SafeSend. SafeSend is a 3-time Innovation Award-winning company for our SafeSend Returns product. Just like to show that. And then a little bit about myself. You can see that there on the screen. I am the product specialist manager here at SafeSend. I've been working with the company since 2013. And really what my day in and day out is to have conversations with firms on how to leverage new technologies into their firms and their workflows to better assist, create efficiencies and things like that. So you can see some of my info there. I am located in Meridian, Idaho. All right, so about TicTie Calculate. TicTie Calculate is an Acrobat plugin for accountants. There is definitely other things out there that we can use, but TicTie Calculate is the one that our company has created. And a little bit about our company, about SafeSend. We are basically a software company, and what we do is develop paperless solutions for the tax and accounting profession specifically. We currently have 4 main products that we sell out there today, and that is, starting on the left in order of release to the market, is TicTie Calculate. This is actually our very first product that we brought to market. It's what we are going to be talking about and what I will be demonstrating throughout today in this presentation. It is an Adobe Acrobat plugin designed for accountants and accountants specifically. Next is SafeSend Exchange. The second product listed is a portal/file sharing and secure email solution designed for secure file exchange. If I had to compare it to anything, it'd be very similar to Leap File or ShareFile. The main difference is that we eliminate passwords through a question and answer based authentication, which has really kind of given us an advantage over those previous companies I've mentioned, as well as client portals. For e-signing, we have a module in our SafeSend suite called SafeSend Signatures. We were actually first to market with an e-sign solution many years ago for the tax and accounting profession specifically, with a product called Signature Flow. Some of you may have used it or heard of it in the past, but that has now become SafeSend Signatures and part of our SafeSend suite. What we did is, after realizing that just e-signing in 8879 wasn't really cutting it in the marketplace, there was actually a much bigger problem to solve, and that was how to automate the entire tax engagement lifecycle. Not only that, specifically the entire tax return assembly and delivery process. As we move from paper to paperless, we kind of looked at the industry and thought, we need to do something to tackle this, and that's what we've done with SafeSend Returns, our last product there. What it is an automated tax return assembly and delivery system, taking the time it takes for kind of paper assembling packages for clients, about 10 to 15 minutes on average, down to about 3 to 5 minutes. That's all we'll really say on it. I encourage everyone to maybe take a look at a webcast or watch some of our videos online and just see what SafeSend Returns is about. It can save you a lot of time. So as a company, we have over 6,000 tax and accounting firms using our softwares and over 50,000 professionals that use the product. It doesn't really matter how small or big you are. Our products are affordable, and they can help you be efficient and lean in your paperless initiatives. Okay, let's go ahead and really quickly cover some administrative items. I know that Jason already covered these a little bit, but just in case anyone came in a little bit late, I do want to go over them very quickly again. This is about a 50 to 60 minute presentation, education with a demonstration, then we'll wrap it up with question and answers. Participants are muted. Ask questions through the GoToWebinar control panel. On your GoToWebinar control panel, you'll have a question spot where you can go ahead and put in questions. My associate, Camden Sutherland, will be actually answering questions as fast as he can through there. And if there's anything that we didn't get to, we will go ahead and try to answer it at the end of the presentation, or of course you can reach out to us if we have missed anything. If we don't answer it, reach out to us. Either myself or someone else will be happy to get back to you with the questions you have. We are offering a 10% discount to all attendees for TicTie Calculate, and for the 1 CPE credit that this course is going to offer, you must be logged in for 50 minutes, answer 3 of 4 of the polling questions. Within a couple days, your CPE certificate will be issued. If you don't see it within that time, check your spam or junk folder, or maybe even log into your account to make sure that it is there. Okay, so for the agenda, what we're going to cover in today's session, first of all, I'm presuming that most of you are thinking about, already have, or in the process of building paperless tax or accounting department processes. If you're going to do so, more than likely you're scanning source documents in a PDF format. Part of going paperless is obviously eliminating the paper. So to do so, we scan it in the PDF format. So the question becomes, how do we effectively work with PDF files? You're used to working with paper in your hands. So now you no longer have paper, you're working digitally, and you're working with PDF files. So to really understand how this works from a workflow perspective, we're going to go through a number of diagrams, using 1040s as an example. What we're going to talk about today is not just 1040 related tax prep items. It's just the example that we're going to use throughout the course of the webcast. Okay, everything we're going to talk about is applicable to any tax and accounting professional, regardless of what line of business you're in. I just needed to pick one, so 1040s it is. Throughout these diagrams, I'm going to define a concept called digital workpaper preparation. Once we understand what I mean by that, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the options that are available to you. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about OCR, scan and organize, and what OCR really is. It is the main core technology utilized by what is commonly referred to as scan and organize and scan and populate. We'll talk more a bit on who the vendors are in OCR, optical character recognition, here shortly. This first educational piece is going to take about 30 minutes, and then I'll transition to a live demonstration where I'm going to show you firsthand how to effectively use Adobe Acrobat with a plugin. Today's plugin will be TicTie Calculate, our product, and show you how to do workpaper preparation. And then lastly, we'll finish with that QA. Okay, so we're actually just going to jump into our first polling question here, and keep in mind that you need to answer 3 of 4 of them in order to qualify for the CPE credit. We'll keep them open for about 60 seconds. The first is, what PDF editor are you currently using?
All right, I'm going to jump back in. We've got this first poll open on your screens right now, so go ahead and get your answers in. As Steve just said, we need to have you all answer at least 3 of these 4 poll questions and stay logged in for at least 50 minutes in order to qualify for the CPE that this webinar qualifies for. So go ahead and get your responses in as quickly as you are able. We're going to leave this open for about 15 to 20 more seconds and make sure you all have ample opportunity to answer this poll for your CPE. We're going to get ready to close out of this poll question shortly. So those of you who haven't voted yet, please do so now as we close out of this poll in 3, 2, and 1. All right, Steve, back to you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so looking at those results, we have 32% of you are using Adobe Acrobat Reader, 55% using Adobe Acrobat DC, 12% other or none. So the vast majority of us are using those Adobe products, and we'll talk about more about those here in just a minute. All right, so let's get started with our first workflow diagram, and let's talk about what traditionally happens in the world of paper. I'm sure some of you, when you first started your careers, you may not have even had a computer. And today, we can't do anything without them, right? So in the past, traditionally, what would happen is that you would receive client source documents. You would immediately make a copy, and you would give originals back to the client. So we are working with copies of the client information. Now, before tax prep was started, you would begin by getting organized. And what that really means is creating a traditional paper-based binder that you see in the tax and accounting profession. All right, so first part of that is to organize and group documents together. For example, take your W-2s, group them together, create a tab called Wages. Take your 1099s, group them together, create a tab called Interest. Take your 1099 dividends, group them together, create a tab called Dividends, and so on and so forth. 2-hole punch all the documents. Binder cover on the back, fasteners through the 2 holes, binder cover to the front, and voila, you have a traditional based binder. Everything is in a nice logical order, and you're ready to go ahead and start, not by doing data entry in the tax software, but also documenting your work along the way. So as you move to the preparation and review process, you have additional tasks that you need to complete or documentation requirements. You may need to run calculator tapes in order to summarize some dollar amounts and paste those tapes into the workpapers. You use red, blue, green pencils to apply tick marks all over the workpapers. Sometimes you need to cross-reference amounts from source documents up to lead schedules. Whether you're using organizers as a lead sheet or you're actually creating your own lead sheet, cross-referencing is important there. Okay? You need ways to add notes, comments, open items, annotation, highlighting, basically documenting and substantiating the conclusions that you are making. And finally, you would sign off as prepared and reviewed and move on to the next page. Now, once you go through and do your data entry in the tax software, you would document your work accordingly in the workpapers. When you were done, you would either print a copy of the return and deliver it to your client. You'd probably print an extra copy of it, combine it with your workpapers, and you would store it in a file room for long-term storage. Okay, so in the file room, we have completed workpapers, the final tax return to refer back to, and this is hopefully a process that most of you are familiar with. Okay, next, now as firms are starting to move into a paperless environment, the first logical step is backscanning. Okay, so basically, everything that you see on my screen, the way that we just previously talked about, remains the same. You're still creating a paper paper-based work papers and documenting your work. The difference is at the very end of the process, what firms would do is scan their completed work papers into a PDF format. They are converting their paper-based work papers to PDF format, and then from there, tax software, they are printing a PDF version of the tax return, and then they're storing it in their DMS or network share drive. So instead of storing paper work papers, paper tax returns in a file room, we are storing PDF versions of those electronically on our network. Now, there's three primary benefits to doing a backscan process. It's going to familiarize you with the scanning process and the settings, make you more efficient with a paperless environment as you move towards that. It's going to eliminate your paper-based storage costs, freeing up that literal storage room, which is a big reason that firms go through this process. Most important reason is that it speeds up the recovery of archived information. How many times have you been running around the office from room to room, desk to desk, into file rooms trying to find last year's work papers? You're missing a binder, you don't know where it is. File room, office, maybe a box on the floor. Okay? I'm sure many of you have been in this situation, and when you're in the paper, you may not know where this info is, and if you lose it, you're in a world of hurt. When you store information electronically, all these problems pretty much just go away. Okay? You never have to leave your desk. You can click a couple buttons on your mouse, and you can immediately access last year's information at any time. All right, so next what we'll talk about is front scanning. Okay, as firms become comfortable with back scanning, the next logical step is to move towards what we call front scanning, and a lot of firms will jump straight into this. Basically, with front scanning, you'll receive your client's information, immediately scan it to PDF format, and eliminate the paper from the process in its entirety. Okay, now the problem that is presented to most firms is that they do not know how to do their typical work digitally. As a tax and accounting professional, many of you learned how to do everything in paper with your red, blue, and green pencils and tape and everything else. That's how you know how to prepare work papers. Now we're trying to take this away from you in this front scan process, and you're working with an Adobe Acrobat and your computer. It may be confusing, but it's all right. How do you organize? How do you do your work? Well, your tasks do not change, right? You still need to do all the same things. You need to organize, group your documents together, run a calculator tape, apply tick marks. If you want to cross-reference anything, you'll need to apply notes, comments, annotations, page sign-off. Well, Acrobat isn't really made to do all that stuff. In fact, it's not really made to do any of it. It's very limited on what you can do with Acrobat in that regard. So this is the area where a lot of firms are challenged, and this is what we call the digital work paper preparation. Basically, it's work paper preparation in a digital environment, as opposed to creating paper-based work papers. So what I will show you today is that when you combine Adobe Acrobat with TicTie Calculate, which is our product, but by no means the only product on the market. You also have PD Flyer by CCH, and it is easy to do digital work paper preparation with them as well. But what we wanted was an ease of use for the tax and accounting industry, which is why we built this program. TTC is very easy to use and to train on. And when you combine it with that core functionality that you get with Acrobat, it allows you to do everything that you need to do in order to prepare your work papers electronically. Okay, last workflow that I'm going to talk about here is how does all this change when I introduce what is commonly referred to as scan and organize and scan and populate type of solution into the equation. And I'll tell you that we do not provide this service, but there are some companies that do. Drake with Gruntworks, CCH has their ProSystemFX scan and autofill. Lacert has ProLine tax import. Thomson Reuters has source document processing, and SurePrep has a great product called 1040 Scan. These are the main providers of the scan and organize and scan and populate type solutions. And here is what happens with them. You're going to receive clients from your documents, from your clients. You're going to scan to a PDF format. Now, before you start work on it, you're going to submit to an OCR vendor. As I said before, OCR stands for optical character recognition. And they will apply their technology to identify pages in the PDF file, and they're going to go through and organize and bookmark this file for you. So usually what will happen is when you get the PDF file that it will have your W-2s grouped together, 1099 INTs grouped together, and you will usually have a bookmark name for each of those documents. So ABC company and XYZ company, that is the organized piece. Now the populate piece will take it one step further, where they can actually import that information into the tax program for you. They cannot do the entire return 100%. So you will receive a PDF file back that shows you, that shows you the work that they have done up to that point, so that you can go ahead and finish it off. Now, once you get it from them, with about 75% of the documents identified and properly classified on average, you'll need to re-index items that software cannot recognize. You need a way to go through and do your workpaper preparation. You need to add a way to subsequently add subsequently received documents, and you still need to go through the standard review process. All right, so you will see on the color coding on the screen, items in medium blue is what I like to call it, this spot in between. The medium blue are what the OCR vendors are doing, and then they give it back to you, and you are basically completing the process with the items here in the light blue by using Acrobat and a product such as TicTie Calculate. This is exactly why companies like CCH bundle their service offerings. CCH will sell you ProFX Scan and Autoflow to handle the items here in this medium blue, and then they will sell you PD Flyer to do the items here in the light blue. Similarly, that's why we as a company partner with companies like Gruntworks and SurePrep that do this medium blue, and then our mutual clients do these last items here in light blue. Using TTC, they are really meant to work together. All right, so next we are going to move forward, and now that we understand this concept of digital workpaper preparation, let's talk a bit about Adobe Acrobat versus some of the alternatives that you have out there in the marketplace. Okay, what are your options for digital workpaper preparation? Number one is, can I use Adobe Reader? It's free, anyone can use it, and if you want to just view the PDF file, that's fine, you can. However, if you want to make any changes like adding bookmarks, putting tick marks, adding cross-references, notes, comments, Reader will not be sufficient because it does not allow you to sufficiently modify that PDF file. Okay? In order to modify the PDF file, you need a PDF editor. And obviously the most common in the marketplace is Adobe Acrobat Standard or Professional, as it used to have, or DC. This is estimated to be used by about 95% of the accounting firms. And again, from that last polling question, 55% of you on the call today are using Adobe Acrobat. Now, some firms are attracted to an alternative because they are usually less money. For example, Nuance, Foxit, Nitro. We do not recommend these alternatives, mainly because they do not have a plugin model. They don't allow companies like us or CCH to build plugins that give you the accounting tools that you needed. If you've ever used a PDF editor like Acrobat, you know it's not really designed for the accounting industry. It's neither designed for an engineer, an architect, graphic artists. It's a very broad-based application. It does not have industry-specific tools included, and that being the definition, right, of that broad-based solution. So in order to get the accounting features that you need while working in Adobe Acrobat, you need a plugin like TTC or even PD Flyer. And this is what we recommend. Now, there are some proprietary solutions out there in the marketplace in regards to digital workpaper preparations. Okay? Some of the DMS have what we call integrated solution, but those have limited functionality. For example, if you're using Lacert DMS or File Cabinet Solution by UltraTax, you can store PDF files in those storage solutions. You can open it up and work in a viewer they provide you, so you're not using Acrobat. Some will let you do small things, make some highlights, maybe add some tick marks, but you're not going to get the full breadth of functionality that you would get with an Acrobat tool. There is one web-based, very sophisticated solution out there in the marketplace created by SurePrep, and it's called SP Binder. It is the most advanced electronic workpaper preparation solution out there. Again, it is a web-based solution, so all your documents are uploaded to their servers. It allows you to combine PDF, Word, Excel documentation into a single workpaper set. In my opinion, it is really built for really big customers, big four type customers that have very detailed or high documentation standards. It requires a bit of training and a change in the way you do things. But if you are looking for the most sophisticated workpaper prep solution, that's it. A lot of firms just want something simple, easy. Their documentation standards are not that high, which is why a lot of folks are moving to the Acrobat and Acrobat plugin models. Okay, so what is TicTie Calculate? TicTie Calculate is a accounting specific plugin for Adobe Acrobat. What does it bring in to Acrobat that you didn't have before, so that you can be effective as an accounting professional in preparing your work papers today? What it will do is give you tick marks in any color. We'll have a tick mark navigator to show you what tick marks are placed on which pages. It will have a digital calculator tape with direct print to PDF. We have hyperlinked cross-references, the ability to cross-reference pages at the beginning and end or through the middle of those work papers. We have a automated bookmarking and repagination solution, preparer and reviewer page sign-offs, review status summary, a digital ruler, which is pretty cool, single page rotation, and then multiple monitor support. And when you combine it with Adobe Acrobat, it becomes really easy to do digital workpaper prep. And it can be used with all the scan and organize, scan and populate solutions. We have free 30-day trials that are available to anyone in your company, the more the merrier. And it's really easy to use and train on. In fact, we don't even provide a dedicated training for TTC. All the training is done through videos, PDF files on our website, articles and stuff. You'll see today it's very, very simple to use. It's not only easy to use, it is recognizable to your people because you're already used to doing tick marks, calculator tapes, and cross-references. It's just a matter of knowing where the button is, how do I find it? And again, we make it very simple, and we will have it displayed right there on your screen. So with that, we're going to go ahead and transition to the second polling question for today's webinar. And that is, what is the main reason you joined today's webcast?
All right, poll question number 2 should be available on everybody's screen at the same time. So go ahead and get your answers into this second poll. We are going to have 2 more following this one. This is poll question number 2. So go ahead and get your votes into this poll as quickly as you are able. We'll leave this open for about a minute. So please go ahead and get all of your answers in as quickly as you can. Just over 20 seconds remain in this second poll, so please go ahead and get your answers in as quickly as you are able. And we, of course, appreciate how quickly you are all voting on this poll question. If anyone is having trouble answering the poll, go ahead and let me know in the questions panel. And otherwise, any technical difficulties, please go ahead and let me know in there as well. You can also ask questions in the questions panel, and any questions that are not answered on air will be forwarded over to Steve at the end of the webinar. And with that, we're going to close out of the second poll in 3, 2, and 1.
All right, so we don't need to display the results for this one. Whatever the reason that you're here joining, I hope that we are meeting that objective for you. Appreciate it. Next, let's go ahead and talk about scanning and OCR. Okay, so for those of you that are new to scanning, just a couple things to go over. When you buy a scanner, usually what happens is you're going to take it out of the box and your scanner will be set to about 1200 DPI, dots per inch, which is a very high level of quality and will probably scan in color. If you scan 20 or 30 pages in this 1200 DPI, you'll end up with a 15 to 20 megabyte PDF file, and you're going to think that's really big. You don't need to make that big of a PDF file. It makes it cumbersome to transfer electronically and takes up your storage space. So set your DPI settings to about 300 to 600. Scan in black and white or grayscale. You don't need those colors. Those are our recommendations. Make sure you look for a scanner that has duplex scanning, which means that it will scan the front and the back at the same time, as well as odd size pages. Now, our company does not sell scanners. Really, the best place to go and get scanners is Amazon. They so far have the best pricing that we have seen in the marketplace. Personally, we recommend the Fujitsu ScanSnap series. Sits on your desk. Most of our clients that have it love it. It's small and sits on each person's desk if you get multiple. If you're looking at more of a network or shared scanner, some of the Fujitsu models are about $1,000, where the basic models of that line are about $400 to $500. So our recommendation is to stick with that Fujitsu line. We just think that they're the best scanning equipment out there in the marketplace. In regard to who should do scanning, there are a couple different options. There's no right or wrong way. It may come down to experimenting with different methods. We've seen firms be successful and we've seen firms fail miserably, with both methods here, admin or professional. So just choose what works best for your firm. Here's the argument. In option one, you will delegate your scanning to an admin or intern or temp employee because you can train them to go through a shoebox of information, pull out unnecessary information and put it in a somewhat logical format. They can zip it through the scanner. It will save 5 to 10 minutes of your professional's time so that they can focus on preparing returns. Now, the problem with this is that the admin will inevitably exclude information that should be included or include information that's really not necessary, and it may be in the wrong order. By the time your professional gets it, they may have to do a little bit of cleanup. The other option is to have your professionals go through the shoebox, spend 5 minutes going through it, getting rid of unnecessary information, rearranging it, familiarizing themselves with the return, and zipping it through the scanner. Our professional opinion is that you're better off having the tax professional go through the shoebox to begin with for all the reasons I just mentioned. They'll familiarize themselves with the return, the information that they need is in there, they can put it in the order in which they want, and this will speed up the bookmarking process that we'll show you later here in the presentation. All right, OCR stands for optical character recognition. Basically, it's a type of technology that takes a scanned image and converts that text to a selectable and searchable text. For example, if you take a picture on your smartphone of a piece of paper with text on it, it's a picture of an image. Some of the fancy software now is reading text on that picture, but for the most part, it doesn't read the text. So it's no different if you scan. If you scan paper into a scanner on PDF format, Adobe Acrobat looks at it as a picture. It doesn't know that the text says the person's name or title, etc. What you do is you run the picture through OCR, and sometimes this happens automatically. That OCR takes that scanned image, converts the text back into searchable and selectable text. Now a piece of software can say, oh, this is a person's name, title, etc. I just want to elaborate a little more on scan and organize and scan and populate. What is scan and organize? Scan and organize if you're going to scan your source documents and submit them to the vendors that I previously mentioned, and I will go over them again here. Here are those again. That is Drake with a product called Gruntworks. CCH Pro System FX Scan and Autofill, Lacert as ProLine Tax Import, Thomson Reuters Source Document Processing, and then of course SurePrep has 1040 Scan. You will scan your source docs, upload it to them. The first thing they will do is organize, just like when I created my paper-based binder, group everything together, and even put bookmarks on there. Now, with this scan and organize, it typically is a 75% success rate. 25% of those documents will come back uncategorized, and you folks will have to categorize those. Scan and populate takes it one step further. Not only are we going to group everything together, identify, extract data, but we're also going to import that now directly into the tax program. All right. So what do we recommend? We personally recommend Gruntworks and SurePrep. Okay, we encourage you to try different technologies. We encourage you to move in and try to be a little bit more paperless, but we do recommend Gruntworks and SurePrep. Gruntworks, again, is provided by Drake. SurePrep has 1040 Scan. The reason we recommend them is that they're both web-based, highly accurate, and both import into multiple tax programs, not just one where CCH, Thomson Reuters, and Lacert only work with their tax programs. And you can do free trials of them, so you can't go wrong by giving it a try. The difference between GruntWorks and SurePrep is the GruntWorks will deploy some human intervention to increase accuracy. That is their competitive advantage. Where SurePrep has a more sophisticated workpaper prep tool in their SP binder, if that's what you're going to be looking for. Now, again, to be successful with all this stuff, you must be fully embraced by your firm. You're going to have a tremendous amount of value in Schedule D. If it's not implemented properly, it can decrease your profitability, so be a little careful. But what I will show you today is that you can manually bookmark a PDF file in just a few minutes if it's something that you want to do manually. Okay, so what we're actually going to do now is we're going to transition out of the education and move into the demonstration. I'm going to show you how to use Adobe Acrobat and TicTie Calculate to prepare digital work papers. It's a lot easier than you think. Okay, so in today's demonstration, I'm going to be working with 31 pages of source documents, 32 rather. These are older source documents, but it will serve for us nicely today. Okay, I'm going to go through a set of work papers using a combination of Adobe Acrobat and TicTie Calculate. Now, be honest with you, some of the feedback we get on these webcasts, people think that we spend a little bit more time showing TicTie Calculate than Adobe Acrobat. And that's true, and it's true by definition. It's not that I matter it being a sales demonstration or anything like that, because there's other tools that I've already recommended that do the same thing. But as I said before, Acrobat was not designed for accountants. They weren't designed for engineers and other groups. It's a broad-based program. So I'll show you some of the cool things that Acrobat is doing, and then I will also show you how you can enhance that in our profession by using something like TicTie Calculate to do tick marks, calculator tapes, cross-referencing, page sign-offs. So since we are preparing work papers, I'll be doing a lot of that. It makes sense by some definition that most of what I'm doing is going to be through TicTie Calculate specific to our profession. All right, so I'm going to cover these features pretty broadly and fairly quickly. You may not absorb it all, and you'll see what I mean by going through the bookmarking process. If you miss anything on this, this will be recorded and available on our website. It will also be available at CPA Academy. We offer this webcast throughout the course of the entire year, so you can always watch it again or join us. Okay, so what I have on my screen is Adobe Acrobat DC. You do not need to have a professional or anything like that. If you have the standard or the professional, it's going to work just fine. But as you can see, I have 31 pages of source documents. These have been scanned, and there is no bookmarks. You can see on the left here, I don't have any bookmarks. So I can go through a bookmark or a thumbnail view of these pages. I prefer to just keep it on the bookmark view here. Now, for those of you that are using older versions or have used older versions of Acrobat, you'll remember that everything used to be at the top as far as toolbars. Okay? With DC, they have moved away from this and have put everything on the right-hand side. And they have put these in tool sets that when you open, for the most part, they will show up at the top again once you open them. Now for TicTie Calculate, what we're going to do is show it on the right-hand side. And when we open it up, we'll further expand that right-hand side, and you will see the extra tools that TicTie and Calculate offers you. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and go through these tools, one by one, show you what it does, what they do. And again, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in that chat. Camden can answer them for you. Okay, we have a lot of tools in TicTie and Calculate. We have a digital calculator. We have the ability to save as, which allows you to save a copy of the PDF file and remove all the digital annotation that you were doing. I'm sure you've had clients back in the past that say, hey, I have a client that wants our work papers, but without all the tick marks on it. This allows you to easily save as and remove all of those tick marks. We have single page rotation here on the left and right. One-click page rotation. It may sound silly, but it's actually kind of difficult to rotate a single page within Adobe. It takes a few more clicks than just that. So we created a shortcut to allow single page rotation that allows us to rotate left or right with one mouse click. Now here at the top, we have all your standard tax or accounting tick marks. They are displayed as red. That is by default. But if we open these up, we actually get a little menu that tells us exactly what we can do with these. We can choose between symbols, numbers, and letters. Symbols, numbers, letters here on the right-hand side. Starting with symbols under the type, you can drop this down and see all the different tick marks that we have. Most firms like to use the check mark here, but we have things that we can do as well. Carry forward, footed, equals, prior year, reviewed, tax return, trial balance, any of these tick marks. You can adjust the size from 1 to 10 on those tick marks, and you can choose any color. The standards that we will show are the red, green, and blue, but as soon as you come to this fourth option here and drop that down, you will be able to choose from a multitude of colors. So you can choose any color there on that menu for your tick marks. So what we can do is go ahead and select a tick mark, and you'll see that our cursor here actually changes in color. And as we go through and maybe add these numbers into our tax software, we can go ahead and check those items off as we go through. Okay? We do not have to use the check mark only in red. Again, we can change that. And again, we can also change the size. So we can change blue to 10, and you'll see that we get a bigger check mark there on the page. Hitting escape will close that. You can select those check marks and move them. You can delete them easily. Now, what this also does is it gives you the ability when you get to numbers and letters, we go to numbers and we have 1 through 40, but that is just for red. So if you want other colors, or you want to use all 40 of red and you need another set of 40, just change the color and now you've got another set. Another cool thing that we do with those numbers is we auto increment. So here my stamp starts at 1. If I go to this page and I start with 1, we can see that TicTie Calculate auto increments to number 2, to number 3, so on and so forth throughout that. You also can turn off that auto increment if you would just like to use, hey, I want to mark multiple things as number 1. We just simply uncheck that and we can mark multiple items with that same stamp. Okay. Same thing with letters. We can auto increment the letters, and A through Z, different sizes, different colors. Those are the tick marks. Okay. Another item that we have is cross references. Okay. Cross references allow us to cross reference multiple pages across this document. So I have a W-2 here. Let's say I would like to cross reference this amount that I have here in wages with another location within the source documents of 30 pages. So what I can do is select cross references, and these are linked. So what you'll be doing is placing 2 sides of the reference and then going back and forth between those. So we'll go ahead and just place our first stamp right here next to the federal income tax withheld, and we simply just scroll through, even page through to later in our source documents where we might need to reference that again, and we can go ahead and place the other stamp. So we're on page 14 here, and now that we've gone ahead and placed that stamp for the cross-reference, as I hover over it, you'll see that the cursor changes, and it is a clickable link. And when I click that, it's actually going to take me right back to that page 1 where I placed that stamp at the beginning. And I can do this from number 1 all the way down to 40. And again, different colors, things like that, and we can auto increment to the next one. Okay, so when I click that link, it takes me back to page 14, 14 back to page 1. So now those 2 locations are linked throughout the work papers. So I can easily go and find it again without having to scroll and try to remember, what page were those on. All right, we have page sign off. So as you go through here and you are marking down your amounts, as you're entering that information into the tax software, you can enable page sign offs. Once enabled, you'll see right at the top here, we have 3 sections: prepared, reviewed, and reviewed to. So as you're going through here, you mark all these that you have finished entering those amounts in. You can go ahead and say that's been prepared. And we'll go ahead and stamp it with your information right at the top. If you send this to somebody else and they review, or you have prepared it and now you're going through a second time making sure that it is done, you can go ahead and mark that as reviewed. and we mark them as red, blue, and green, as in that traditional method that we did with our pens back when we were doing just paper. Okay, review page sign-offs. So what we can do is open review page sign-offs, and we can see what pages have been reviewed, which ones have been repaired, and we can just scroll through all the pages and see exactly what's been done. So if we're sending this document to somebody else to review for us, they can pop open this review sign-offs and see exactly which pages have been prepared / reviewed. If they're going to be reviewed too, they can open this up and look at, hey, which ones did I miss? Even the reviewed one. You can see exactly which pages you haven't actually stamped as reviewed. So it gives you just kind of a cool overview there. Okay, I'm going to come back to bookmarking. I'll save that for last. So I'm going to skip down to ruler. This is a very cool feature. Our co-founder and previous CEO was a CPA by trade. So what he did is he used to prepare things on paper, and he used a ruler to make sure that items lined up. So with this, we could actually pop open a ruler, and we can go ahead and line things up and make sure that we're working with that same information and not accidentally doing the wrong line, just like we would on paper. With this, you can resize it, make it smaller, bigger, as much as you need to, but you can just toggle that ruler on and off, and it provides that tool to you. Okay, I'm actually going to skip to page 28 here for this next feature, the calculator. We have a digital calculator that you can run digital tapes on. So instead of using paper tapes, we can open up this calculator. Whoops, let me go ahead and clear that. And we can see here that we'll go ahead and run that 10-key calculator, and we can place the stamps on this page. So if we have any expenses or anything that we need to calculate here, we can go ahead and calculate it right here on this calculator. So we'll go ahead and let's start with 634 plus 317 plus 98, and that equals 49. You can see I accidentally left the Hertz rental car 119 out. What we can do is if we do leave something out, we can go ahead and right click, insert a line below, double click right in there, and go ahead and add our amount. When we do that, it automatically adjusts, and now we have our total. What we can also do in here is name the tape. So we can just call it travel, and we can double click in this white space to go ahead and do the same thing, United Airlines, and add labels for those expenses. Hertz, and the last is Avis. Now, once we run that tape and it looks good, and this can be a very long tape, it doesn't have to be a certain amount of line items, we can go ahead and hit this to PDF button. And what our TicTie Calculate will do is paste a tape onto the PDF of that, of that calculation. Sorry, folks, I'm not sure why it's not letting me move it around. You can, here we go. You can move it around and resize the tape. You can even delete the tape if you need to. So we just grab it on the corner and go ahead and resize. If you right click, you can choose a different color palette, or let's say you needed to add another expense to it or anything like that. You can actually right click and hit to calculator, and it will throw it right back in the calculator for you to go ahead and make other changes. Now, once you do hit the total and you get totals for that top, if you wanted to continue with meals and things like that, you could go ahead and start typing in again, and it will start that over. So we can break out that tape into multiple sections. And then again to PDF, and we will start creating that as well. Okay, so that is the digital calculator, very handy tool. And you can move it around as much as you need to, resize it, things like that. Okay, some other utilities that we have to that save as, save copies. A lot of these things are also just quick links to very highly used Acrobat features, inserting and deleting pages, running OCR if you need to, if it doesn't done already, trying to reduce that file size, adjusting your header and footer. and then watermarks. The last thing that I'm going to cover today in this is going through our bookmarking. So in our system, you can use templates to bookmark. Now, you can always hit add bookmark here. You can make titles and link it to pages. My most common method that most firms use or most folks use is right-clicking the page and hitting add bookmark, and then again creating the title there. But this can be cumbersome, especially as you go to each page, right-click and add bookmarks. In our system, we give you a way to go ahead and bookmark within a structure very quickly. So under bookmarks, what you can do is hit use bookmark templates. And in our system, we have some bookmark templates that you can go ahead and use. So we'll use our default TicTie Calculate 1040 and apply. Now, what this does is it creates a templated bookmark tree. Now we have it here, but it does not show up here yet until we bookmark the pages that we're looking at. So here first, we're seeing a W-2. So we can go income, wages, W-2, and in the description, we'll go ahead and type MetLife. Oops. And then we are going to set bookmark. When we set bookmark, it automatically in the background takes us to the next page. And then you can see on the left-hand side here, that tree has begun to build. And all you need to do is simply go through and do that for every page that we see. Okay, so we have sorry folks, will be interest, the 1099 interest, we'll go here and we'll just go ahead and mark this as service credit union. Set bookmark, it automatically moves us to the next page and creates that bookmarking tree. And we simply go through each page behind us. Next will be that 1098. Let's see here. Sorry, I am not a CPA by trade, so I don't know exactly where these items go, but we'll go here to, let's just say alimony, and we'll just call this Westgate, and we'll just continue to set bookmarks. Another W-2 there from Angelica, so we come back up to wages, add Angelica here. Angelica, set bookmark, and as you can see, that begins to take shape. So I'm not going to go through all 31 pages, but that's how we will bookmark in a structure easily. Now you can see that there is some colors here as well. We have blue and that red color. That corresponds to those page sign-offs. So when we have pages that are marked as blue reviewed, the bookmark color will also change with it. If we mark it as green, the bookmark color will change to green. So everything has sort of kind of a reddish brown, a maroon, and then as we go through to the next page and mark it as prepared, it changes to a red, and then blue for reviewed, green for reviewed level 2. That is really it for the tools of TicTie Calculate. Just those enhancement tools that give you options as a accounting professional, and in our experience, things that we need that typically Adobe does not offer. So that is really it. I'm going to go ahead and pop back open my presentation, and we will go ahead and finish up with the last 2 polling questions here. So with TicTie Calculate, we do have some system requirements. Adobe Acrobat DC must be used. It does not work with Adobe Reader, and you can use it on a Citrix or terminal server. So let's go ahead and launch that 3rd polling question. After reviewing this presentation, what is preventing you from front scanning and preparing digital work papers?
All right, that 3rd poll is open now, and just as Steve said, we will have 1 more in the remaining time. So go ahead and get your answers into poll question number 3. And we're going to get ready to close out of this one as soon as we have the majority of responses in. And we've had this poll open for about a minute, so go ahead and get your votes in as quickly as you are able. Again, this is poll question number 3. We will have 1 more shortly following this poll. before we conclude in a few minutes, so go ahead and get your answers in as quickly as you are able to poll question number 3. With that, we are going to get ready to close out of this third poll question in 3, 2, and 1.
All right, thank you, everybody. Next, you might be thinking, what are our next steps? Okay, we recommend assembling a paperless team and identify a project champion. Download a free trial of Adobe Acrobat if you are still using Adobe Reader or a different PDF editor. And then you can download a free 30-day trial of TicTie Calculate. All the members of your firm can use the trial. You can watch our recorded training videos. You can watch training videos on our website, on our help center, etc. This will lead us into our last polling question, and that is, would a free 30-day trial of TicTie Calculate bring value to your company?
And with that, the fourth and final poll is now open on all of your screens, so go ahead and get your answers in as quickly as you are able. This is the final opportunity to answer a poll for your CPE credit, so please go ahead and get your answers in as quickly as possible. Thank you all so much for voting on this poll and for your attendance in this webinar. So we're going to leave this open for just about another 30 seconds while you get your responses in. Again, this is poll number 4, the final opportunity to answer a poll for credit in this webinar. Again, if you can hear my voice, poll question number 4, the fourth and final poll is now live, so go ahead and get your answers in as quickly as you are able. We're going to get ready to close out of this poll very shortly, so go ahead and get your votes in if you haven't done so already. We will close this down in 3, 2, and 1.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Now, with the last few minutes that we have, I would like to answer any questions that we have. I'll go through that Q&A section. I know that we've been answering questions throughout, but we'll go ahead and answer them again, just in case those questions weren't showed to everybody. It looks like a top question here is, those of you that are using TicTie Calculate already, my version does look a little bit different. We do have an update to it, so if you need to get that update, just please reach out to our team at support@safesend.com. We have a question from Brian here. Can you add more than 2 cross-references to go between, say, 3 pages? At this time, Brian, you can only cross-reference 2 specific pieces of the PDF, not 3. So you'll have a start and then a finish cross-reference location. Let's see. Does TTC have WP password features? Alexandra, no, it does not. TTC will work in a Citrix and server environment. You just, again, simply express interest in running in that environment to our support team while after purchase, or if you're a current user, reach out to them at support@safesend.com and they will get you the information on how to install that there. Is there a way to easily add text or notes? So that is one of the great functions of Adobe Acrobat, as you can easily just right click and hit add sticky note to any page that you're working on. You will use the sticky notes feature within Acrobat, and then those sticky notes will show in the comment section of the Acrobat as well. Again, Acrobat has great tools already built in. They just needed a little bit more for our profession. Okay, it looks like Camden has answered all the other questions. I just want to thank everybody for joining and listening with me today. If you need anything, please reach out to us at support or sales@safesend.com. SafeSend.com is our general website where you can go and download your free trial. Thank you very much. And Jason, anything else?
Nope, just going to go ahead and wrap up if that's okay with you, Steve.
Go ahead.
All right, well, I wanted to thank you, of course, first for presenting. Thank you so much for spending the last hour with all of us here. And of course, a big thanks to everyone in the audience for your participation and attendance. And a huge thanks to everyone at SafeSend for bringing today's content to all of you today. CPE will be issued by our team here at CPA Academy by the end of the day today, and it should be available in your CPA Academy accounts within 24 hours, along with access to all of the associated webinar materials. And with that, we're going to go ahead and close out of this webinar. So thank you once again to all of you in the audience and to Steve and everyone at SafeSend. We hope to see you all on future webinars and hope you all have a great rest of the day.